Jesus said, if you knew who I was and you drank from me, from my well, you would never thirst again. And which is quite opposite of the sun in Phoenix. Because if you go out and be in the sun in Phoenix, it dehydrates you. Ask me how I know. I can tell you firsthand. I know firsthand because I got dehydrated from being outdoors for the last few days. And it did not go well for me yesterday. And yeah, was not feeling so great being that dehydrated. And now we're on the way to do some IV therapy to rehydrate a little bit, put some fluids back into my body because apparently my idea of drinking water is not suffice according to my body. But hey, we live and learn. Sometimes we learn through suffering. I feel like there's a scripture about that, that Jesus learned through suffering. And I'm just trying to be like Jesus. Unfortunately, the lessons I'm learning are from my own stupidity. And that's the beautiful part because God has factored our stupidity into the equation. And so when we find ourselves doing things that probably are less than smart, His grace is there to help see us through. Doesn't mean that we go out and do stuff, you know, that's stupid intentionally. It just means there are going to be times when we do stupid stuff. And His mercy and His kindness is there to walk us through said stupid things. And I'm very grateful for that. And, yesterday I was at work and was all of a sudden feeling a little not so good, not so hot. And my blood pressure was spiking, and they were ready to call me an ambulance. But I knew it wasn't that serious. I knew it wasn't that. But I couldn't like the nurse did not like me trying to figure it out, but the nurse was clueless at my work as far as what was happening. And so it was like either I figure it out or you're gonna put me in an ambulance and I ain't trying to pay for an ambulance unnecessarily. So I knew it wasn't serious enough, and she's like, "Are you sure you don't want me to call you an ambulance?" It's like, and I'm positive that I do not want you to call me an ambulance. It's just high blood pressure. I've calmed down, like, because it like, and so, and I knew I just needed to get out of the office so I could reach out to my spiritual father and be like, "All right, here's X, Y, Z. Here's what's happening." Like on the surface, it looks like anxiety, and I've had like one type of moment of anxiety in my entire life. And, this didn't feel like that. There was nothing that I could think of that would lead to that. And, his thought initially was like, all right, well, like, let me ask you, like how much are you consuming media wise? Because that can really stir up things, especially with all that's going on. And I said, nothing in the last few days. Honestly, I've been fishing most of the day. And he goes, that's what it is. You're dehydrated, which is what the nurse agreed as well before I left. And she was like, I think you're really dehydrated, but I don't know if you're in an emergency situation where you need to go to an ER because I don't have the ability to tell you that sort of thing in this type of environment. And he goes, yeah, he goes, everything you're describing can be caused by anxiety, or not anxiety, by dehydration. You can get an anxiety feeling, lightheaded, just kind of woozy, even though it was like, 24 hours after the fact. And I knew just right then and there. That's what it was. Like, but I knew it wasn't me like having a heart attack or a stroke or anything like that. And, even the nurse and all her kindness was, oh, so your job can be difficult and stressful. And even my manager was like, I don't think that's the case with you. Like your your background and just who you are doesn't get bent by interactions with people like that. I said, pretty much. And so she's like, just go home and rest. And today I still stayed home and rest. And I'm on my way now to, you know, do some IV therapy, get some fluids into me. But if you could take anything away from this rambling, it's good to have someone in your life that you can fully trust. And nowadays, I know that's crazy. I know most people probably think I'm insane to a certain degree because I have that type of trust in a man, in a person, in a human. And there are times where maybe we don't see eye to eye. And he'll even say, all right, well, man's gonna do what he has in his heart that he believes he should do. And if that's on the opposite side of things, like in the sense of like, not necessarily how he would do or what he would do. And then there's times where he's like, all right, I can't, no, I'm not giving you advice. You need to hear the Lord. Because if you hear the Lord, the faith will come with that for you to do whatever he's asking you to do. If I tell you, all you have is good words. And so I think it's very uh, life-giving. And people go, well, what would happen if he was wrong? Then I'm before the Lord, you know, that's fine. And the Lord goes, you're an idiot. And I go, all right, I know. Do I get to go in now or are you gonna kick me back out? Like what are we doing? You know, pretty straightforward, simple stuff. It's not that complicated. And that's, often what I'll explain to people. Hey, what's the worst case scenario? You find yourself with the Lord? All right, cool. I'm game. Like when you take that type of power out of death, the fear aspect, and going, all right, cool, I'm dead. I'm with the Lord. I can even remember when COVID came about and I was sitting at home, not, breathing was a challenge. It was super like, new. Nobody knew what to do about any of it. And breathing was hard and I could feel my fingertips going numb and all that sort of stuff. And it's like I could feel death right in front of me telling me that to say goodbye to everybody and just let them know that I'm gonna die. And I remember right then and there, I told that thought, that entity that was there taunting me, if you think taking me out right now will will quench the purposes of God through my life, then you don't understand who God is. Because my life will lead my death will lead to more people coming to know the goodness of God than me staying alive would. So go for it. And that's how I ended that conversation. And so it's important that in the midst of things, not to get caught up in fear and to put fear in its place. Because fear sits below you. Fear has nothing with you. Got nothing on you. Because you walk in a power and in an authority that fear only wishes it could walk in. And that's the thing. Fear is actually afraid of you. You don't need to be afraid of it.